Look around for a moment. One day, everything feels normal. Your retirement check hits your account. Your routine stays predictable. The coffee gets cold on the table. The TV keeps playing in the background, and life seems to move along the same track it always has. Then, almost without warning, something shifts. Grocery prices go up. The electric bill feels heavier. Your medication costs more than it did last month. And the money that used to give you room to breathe starts disappearing too soon. That is the moment when a lot of people start feeling pressure on the inside. Even if nothing changes on the outside, they stay quiet. They cut one thing here, put something else off there, and try to pretend everything is still under control. But that is exactly where something happens that almost nobody notices early enough. While some people panic, pull back, and start waiting for next month as if it is going to fix everything on its own, others begin to see movement where most people only see pressure. Because when money gets tighter, some purchases disappear, but some needs stay just as strong as before. In many cases, they get even stronger. Now think about yourself. If everything gets more expensive again tomorrow, is there anything besides your retirement income bringing money in for you? Or are you still depending on everything going smoothly just to breathe a little easier? This is the point almost nobody likes to face. The real problem does not begin when the crisis shows up. It begins much earlier, when you get used to depending on a single source of income and start acting as if it will be enough for everything, forever. And this is not about pessimism. It is about protection. Because when you understand that stability does not come only from the amount that lands in your account, but from your ability to create new streams of income, the way you think begins to change. You stop asking, why is everything getting so hard? And start asking, what do people still need, even when times get tight? And that is exactly what you are going to see today. 9 profitable business ideas for retirees that almost nobody talks about, but that make perfect sense precisely because they do not depend on trends, glamour, or luck. They depend on something much stronger, real need. And pay attention, because this changes everything. When you stop chasing what is trendy and start looking at what is still necessary even in hard times, you begin to notice opportunities that used to seem invisible. And one of them may fit exactly where you are right now, with your pace, your lifestyle, and your reality. Before we get into the list, you need to understand one very important difference. There are things people stop buying when money gets tight, but there are also things they simply cannot stop paying for, looking for, or solving. Eating, taking care of their health, fixing what broke, getting life organized, having help, finding convenience. That is where the difference lies between an idea that looks nice and an idea that keeps generating income. Because a strong business is not just one that gets attention. It is one that solves a problem that is still alive. Business number 1, homemade food by order. At first glance, this may seem too simple, and that is exactly why so many people ignore it. But think about it carefully. When the budget gets tight, people stop going to restaurants. They cut expensive delivery. They cut the extras. But they do not stop eating. And when they start looking for a better, more affordable, closer, and more trustworthy option, a homemade meal stops being just food. It becomes a solution. Picture late afternoon. Someone gets home tired, opens a nearly empty fridge, looks at the clock, and realizes they do not have the time or energy to cook. What are they looking for? Something practical, honest, and affordable. That is where this business starts making sense. Now look at it as income. Who pays for this? Neighbors, small families, busy professionals, people who live alone, even other retirees who do not cook as often anymore. Why do they pay? Because they need to solve an immediate need without spending too much. When do they pay? Usually on a recurring basis, every week, sometimes several times a week. And here is the powerful part. You do not need a restaurant, a team, a storefront, or a big investment to get started. In many cases, all you need is an organized kitchen, a simple menu, good presentation, and consistency. Do the math. Just a few regular customers can already create steady cash flow. And steady cash flow changes the way the whole month feels. But pay attention to something important. This is not magic. It is not about cooking just anything and hoping it works. What matters here is clarity. It is understanding what people actually want to buy. Balanced meal prep, broth, soup, homemade snacks, simple cake, food that feels trustworthy. In tight times, people do not just want to save money. They want to feel like they made a safe choice. And that gives an advantage to the person who delivers flavor, cleanliness, punctuality, and consistency. When you offer that, you stop selling a plate of food and start selling relief. Business number 2, practical sewing, alterations, and small clothing repairs. This is another kind of opportunity that grows quietly. When money gets tight, a lot of people stop buying new clothes, but they still need to dress well, reuse what they already have, and fix what still works. A hem needs adjusting, a zipper breaks, a piece needs to be taken in or let out, a curtain gets torn, a pillow can be redone. Now imagine how many people around you deal with this kind of need without realizing it is already demand. They do not need luxury. They need a solution. Who pays for this kind of service? Everyday people, families, neighbors, small businesses, anyone who would rather repair than replace. Why do they pay? Because adjusting something costs less than buying it again, and a lot of the time it solves the problem fast. When do they pay? Whenever the need comes up, and it comes up all the time. And here is the strength of this model. You do not need a big setup. In many cases, a machine, a well-kept workspace, and trust are enough to create momentum. The money here does not come from impulse. It comes from usefulness. And businesses built on usefulness are far more resilient than those built only on desire. There is another detail that makes this business especially strong for people with more life experience. Practical sewing does not depend on youth, appearance, or keeping up with trends. It depends on care, precision, responsibility, and follow-through. And those qualities usually carry real value. Think about it. Someone hands you a piece of clothing and wants it back on time, done well, exactly as promised. When that happens, trust grows. And when trust grows, the customer comes back, refers you, and recommends you to others. That is how a small service starts turning into predictable income. Business number 3, administrative support for small professionals and self-employed workers. Now the logic shifts, and this may be one of the most overlooked options for retirees precisely because it seems too simple. But it only seems simple to the person who already knows how to do it. To someone who feels overwhelmed, it is valuable. Think about a small business owner who knows how to sell, cook, serve customers, or provide a service, but is constantly disorganized with scheduling, messages, confirmations, collections, payments, and day-to-day structure. That person does not necessarily need a big office. They need someone who can bring order to the routine. They need someone who can help keep the day running. Who pays for that? Small businesses, self-employed workers, service providers, independent professionals, people who already have customers but waste too much time trying to organize everything on their own. Why do they pay? Because disorganization costs money. It leads to lost clients, delays, confusion. When do they pay? Often several times a month as ongoing support. And here is the part almost nobody notices. You may already have exactly the skills this takes. Speaking clearly, writing things down, confirming appointments, organizing schedules, following up on payments, responding politely, keeping the routine flowing. To many people, that sounds basic, but in the real market, the basics done well are highly valuable. And there is something even more powerful about this model. It turns experience into income without requiring a complete reinvention. You do not need to learn a whole new profession from scratch. In many cases, you simply need to reorganize what you already know how to do and offer it as a solution. If you spent years dealing with routines, discipline, documents, deadlines, customer service, or coordination, you already carry a kind of knowledge that many younger people are still trying to build. And when that knowledge saves time, prevents mistakes, and improves the way someone's business runs, it stops being invisible. It starts becoming valuable. Do you see the pattern so far? Homemade food, clothing repairs, and administrative support all seem ordinary. And that is exactly why they work. Because they are tied to what keeps happening even when life gets tighter. People still need to eat. They still need to save money by repairing instead of replacing. They still need help organizing their work. And this is exactly where most people get confused. They go looking for a big idea when they should be looking for an ongoing need. In the next section, I will continue with the next ideas on the list, raising the level of recurring demand. Business number 4, companionship and practical support for seniors and overwhelmed families. There is a need here that keeps growing quietly every single day in just about every neighborhood. Picture the scene. A son or daughter leaves early for work, gets home late, and spends the entire day mentally split between their own routine and worrying about a parent who can no longer handle everything alone. It is not a lack of love, it is a lack of time, a lack of presence, a lack of someone trustworthy to go along to appointments, organize medications, help with small tasks, provide companionship, and simply make sure everything is okay. And when that need shows up, it does not feel like a luxury. It feels urgent. Who pays for this kind of support? Sons, daughters, grandchildren, relatives, and families who need real help to keep a loved one's routine running with more safety and peace of mind. Why do they pay? Because they know they cannot handle everything on their own, and they do not want to leave someone they love without proper support. When do they pay? In many cases, weekly, several times a week, or even on a recurring basis throughout the month. And here is the strength of this model. You do not need to start by building a large structure or opening a complex business. Very often, it begins with something simple, human, and direct. Showing up, reminding, being present, helping with the routine. There is something very powerful about this kind of work. It does not depend on trends, the internet, or appearance. It depends on trust. And when trust becomes rare, it becomes even more valuable. But there is an important point here. This is not about promising what you cannot deliver. It is not about improvising in a delicate situation. It is about offering clear, responsible support that stays within what you can truly do. And when that is positioned the right way, this service stops being seen as informal help and starts being recognized for what it really is, a practical solution to an everyday pain point. Business number 5, practical resale of essential products. This is one of those models that seems too modest to get attention, and that is exactly why most people overlook it. Now look around you. Cleaning products, hygiene items, small household essentials, basic foods, homemade sweets, water, coffee, things that come into people's routines and move quickly. When money gets tight, people become more selective about big purchases, but they still need to keep the house running. And many times, they would rather solve that need close to home, quickly, and with someone they trust. Who pays? Neighbors, acquaintances, people in the area, repeat customers who value convenience and closeness. Why do they pay? Because they want to solve a need without wasting time, without having to travel, and without making it complicated. When do they pay? All the time, in small amounts that may seem modest, but add up powerfully when there is consistency. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They look at a small sale and think it is not worth much. But a business is not sustained only by big amounts coming in. Very often, it is sustained by repetition, by turnover, by cash flow, by customers coming back again and again. And this model has an important advantage for someone who is retired. It can start gradually. You do not need to open a store, rent a commercial space, or buy a huge amount of inventory. You can start small, with tested items, watching what actually moves, what people buy again, and what they keep asking for. That lowers risk and gives you more clarity, because once you notice which products truly sell, you stop working in the dark and start building based on real behavior, not guesswork. And there is one valuable detail here. Local trust can be stronger than any advertisement. When someone buys once, likes the service, and comes back, a small business starts gaining real momentum. But pay attention to a common mistake. A lot of people turn resale into a mess because they buy what they think looks nice or convenient instead of paying attention to what truly makes other people's lives easier. Money usually does not get tied up in the most interesting item. It usually moves through the most useful one. That is the kind of difference that seems small, but changes everything. Once you learn to notice usefulness, frequency, and repetition, resale stops looking improvised and starts looking strategic. And simple strategy, when it is executed well, is often much stronger than sophisticated, confusing ideas. Business number 6. Handmade products with real usefulness. There is a very important line here between a hobby and income. A lot of people look at handmade products and think of something pretty and delicate, but hard to sell consistently. But the key is not making just any item. The key is producing something people actually use, need, or give as gifts on a regular basis. Dish towels, kitchen items, organizational pieces, simple keepsakes, seasonal kits, covers, adjustments, personalized items, useful objects for the home. When handmade work meets usefulness, it moves up a level. It stops being just pretty and starts making financial sense. Who pays for that? People who want something functional, well-made, personalized, and more local. Why do they pay? Because they see value in something that solves a problem, helps organize, decorates in a practical way, or works as an affordable gift. When do they pay? In steady cycles, especially when you understand dates, occasions, and buying patterns. And here is a major advantage for retirees. Someone who already has manual skill, patience, care, and discipline can start small, test quickly, and grow only as the response appears. That is very different from jumping into a big investment without knowing whether real demand exists. Now think about the effect of that. You make a small number of pieces. You show them to real people. You get feedback. You adjust. You notice what generates more interest. You repeat what works. And little by little, almost without realizing it, you start turning skill into cash flow. This is not about making 100 items at once and hoping for the best. It is about validating before scaling. That kind of thinking protects your time, your money, and your energy. And that point is essential, because a lot of people do not quit because they lack ability. They quit because they started too big, too early, and too blindly. There is also an emotional strength in this kind of business that should not be ignored. In a world full of things that feel cold, fast, and all the same, products made with care create a sense of closeness. But that alone is not enough. What drives sales is not just warmth. It is the combination of warmth and usefulness. When someone buys something that is not only attractive but also useful, the perceived value goes up. And when perceived value goes up, the price stops looking like an expense and starts looking like a smart choice. That is exactly the perception that supports many small businesses that stay quiet, but solid. Up to this point, notice the pattern taking shape in front of you. Practical support for families, resale of essentials, and useful handmade products may seem like different areas, but they all rest on the same foundation: ongoing need. And that is exactly what gives this channel style its strength. The logic never starts with the flashiest idea. It starts with the most persistent problem. Money does not keep moving where there is the most shine. It keeps moving where there is the most need. And once you understand that, the whole picture changes. What used to seem too simple starts to look exactly like the kind of thing that can work. And this may be the most important part of all. You do not need to start with something big to feel real change. In many cases, a small extra stream of income is already enough to change the way you breathe through the month. It eases the pressure. It gives you some room back. It changes that feeling of total dependence. This kind of transformation almost never comes from a spectacular idea. It comes from a smart decision, repeated consistently, built around something people continue to need. That is why small businesses can be so powerful. When they are chosen well, they work with reality instead of against it. Now think about what that means for you. Maybe for a long time, retirement has felt like a finish line. A point where your only option was to manage better whatever was already coming in. But what if it is not just that? What if this moment could also be a repositioning? Not to start a completely new life, and not to take unnecessary risks, but to build a second path, a new foundation, a new kind of security. That is exactly the feeling that starts to appear when you see a practical idea fitting into your time, your space, and your experience. And pay attention, because what comes next raises the bar even higher. The next ideas move into income areas with even greater potential for stability, because they are directly tied to needs that almost never go away: space, maintenance, and guidance. And one of them in particular is often overlooked because it seems too ordinary, when in reality it can become one of the most solid sources of income for someone who wants to stay active, without depending on a formal job. Business number 7, renting out a room, a small space, or offering budget lodging. At first glance, this may seem far removed from your reality, but think about it for a moment. In many cities, there is always someone looking for a simple, clean, affordable place to stay for a few days, a few weeks, or even longer. Students, temporary workers, visiting family members, patient caregivers, people in transition. And when money gets tight, the demand for lower cost options goes up. That is when an unused space inside the home stops looking like just an empty room and starts looking like a quiet source of income. Who pays for this? People who need practicality, safety, and a lower cost. Why do they pay? Because they either cannot afford or simply do not want to pay for more expensive options. When do they pay? Anytime a real lodging need comes up, and in some cases on a recurring basis. And here is the strength of this model. You do not need a building, an inn, or a sophisticated setup. In many cases, a well-kept room, clear rules, cleanliness, organization, and honest communication already create value. What people want, especially when times are tight, is not luxury. It is a solution. But there is an important detail that many people overlook. This kind of income works better when it communicates trust visually. A made bed, a clean bathroom, an open window, the feeling of a well-cared-for space, a sense of order. That matters a lot. Because when someone is paying to stay in a simple place, they want to feel that they are walking into a space that is decent, safe, and well maintained. And this is exactly where many retirees may have an advantage. Attention to detail, care for the environment, and responsibility with house rules often create a better experience than many places that look professional on the surface but deliver carelessness. Business number 8. Small maintenance jobs and practical everyday help. Now picture a common scene. A dripping faucet, a door that will not close properly, a light bulb that needs to be changed, a cabinet that needs adjusting, a yard that needs to be organized. None of these problems seem major from a distance, but when they happen inside someone's home, they become urgent. And that is exactly why this type of service keeps existing even when many other areas slow down. Because in difficult times, people avoid big expenses that they still pay to fix what cannot stay broken. Who pays for this? Neighbors, families, people who live alone, older couples, busy people, and people who either do not know how or cannot handle certain repairs. Why do they pay? Because they want the problem solved quickly, safely, and without hassle. When do they pay? Almost always right when the problem shows up. And here is the quiet beauty of this model. You do not need to know how to do everything. In many cases, it is enough to master specific tasks. Be punctual, polite, and trustworthy. Businesses like this grow less through advertising and more through referrals. One satisfied person brings in another, then another, and before you realize it, you are building steady flow. There is another very strong point here. This kind of work delivers visible value. The customer sees the repair finished, sees the sink working, sees the door adjusted, sees the shelf installed, sees the problem disappear. That has a huge impact, because when the value is visible, the customer quickly understands why they are paying. And in a market full of vague promises, clear services usually stand out. That is why ideas that seem simple on the surface can be so powerful. They do not sell a dream, they sell a solution. And a solution, when delivered well, almost always finds room in the market. Business number 9. Turning experience into practical guidance for beginners. This may be the most overlooked of all, because many retirees look at their own life path and think they have only lived something ordinary. But what feels ordinary to you may be exactly what someone else still does not know how to do. Organization, customer, service, routine, client relationships, planning, discipline, negotiation, processes, communication, client relationships, planning, discipline, negotiation. All of that, which you may see as basic, can be the difference between someone staying lost and someone gaining the clarity to start a small business, organize an activity, or fix mistakes that cost time and money. Who pays for this? Small business owners, beginners, self-employed workers, people trying to sell something, organize a service, or structure their work routine more effectively. Why do they pay? Because they want to shorten the learning curve, avoid mistakes, and gain direction. When do they pay? In one-time guidance sessions, short follow-ups, quick meetings, or practical help to solve specific questions. And here is the powerful part. You do not need to present yourself as a guru or promise the impossible. You simply need to help someone see the next step more clearly. And when that help is concrete, it already has value. Think about the effect of that. Instead of feeling like age has taken your place away, you begin to realize that the experience you have built can turn into income. Instead of looking at the past as something finished, you start looking at it as raw material. What you have lived, organized, learned, and sustained over the years stops feeling invisible. It takes shape. It becomes useful. It gains a price. And that changes far more than money. It changes how you see your place in your own life, because you stop seeing yourself as someone merely managing what is left and start seeing yourself as someone building what is still possible. Now pause for a moment and look at the full logic behind this list. Homemade food, practical sewing, administrative support, companionship and care, reselling essentials, useful handmade products, renting out space, small repairs, experience-based guidance. What do all these ideas have in common? None of them depend on fame. None of them require extreme youth. None of them call for an unrealistic investment. And most importantly, none of them depend on a perfect world to work. All of them are built on human needs that continue to exist when everything else starts to slow down. And this is exactly where almost everyone gets it wrong. They spend too much time looking for the big hidden opportunity, when consistent money is almost always tied to the problem that keeps showing up every single day. People still need to eat. They still need to save money by repairing instead of replacing. They still need help, organization, presence, practicality, and direction. Once you understand that, you stop looking at business ideas as something distant and start seeing opportunities inside your neighborhood, on your street, in your home, around the people near you, and inside your own daily routine. That now comes the question that really matters. Which of these 9 ideas actually fits your reality today? Not the one that looks best on paper, not the most impressive one, not the one that seems the most modern, the one that makes sense, the one that fits your time, your space, your energy, and what you already know how to do. Because this is where a lot of people sabotage themselves. They want to start with the ideal when they should be starting with what is possible. And most of the time, it is exactly what is possible that opens the door to something bigger later on. So do this in a simple way. Choose one, just one. Look around and see whether there is someone near you who would already see value in it this week. Think about the most basic version possible of that offer. If it is food, which 2 or 3 dishes would make sense to test? If it is sewing, which alterations could you offer first? If it is administrative support, who do you know that lives in constant disorganization? If it is guidance, what kind of clarity can you already provide? When you bring the idea down to the size of the next step, fear gets smaller and action starts to feel possible. And pay attention to a truth that almost nobody says clearly. You do not need a brilliant idea. You need a solid one. You do not need the next trend. You need something that stays useful. You do not need to reinvent your whole life. You just need to find a support point that reduces your dependence on a single source of income. And that support point, even if it starts small, can already change the way you move through the month, make decisions, and look at the future. Now imagine 2 scenarios. In the first one, everything stays the same. The bills keep tightening. Your retirement income keeps carrying everything by itself, and you keep waiting for the perfect moment to do something. In the second you picked one of these ideas, tested it on a small scale, talked to real people, got your first signs of response, and started building a new stream of income. Maybe still quiet, maybe still modest, but real. Which of those two scenarios brings back more peace? Which one gives you more control? Which one lets you breathe easier? Because in the end, the difference between the person who stays stuck under financial pressure and the one who starts moving out of it is rarely about discovering some hidden secret. It is about making one simple decision before fear rearranges everything all over again. And that is why this kind of content matters. Not because it sells fantasy, but because it shows that real paths still exist for the person who chooses to look at need instead of trends, consistency instead of temporary excitement, and usefulness instead of appearance. So here is the final question. Which of these 9 ideas could you truly start without making excuses? Not next year. Not when everything is perfect. Now, with what you have, with what you know, with what is already around you. Pick one. Validate it on a small scale. Test it in the real world, because opportunity does not always show up loudly. Very often, it is hiding inside the needs that never go away. And now the question is no longer whether it works. The question is whether you are willing to start.